Well, to get more into what the two leaders will have been discussing, I'm joined now by member of the European Parliament for Alternative for Germany, Maximilian Krah. Maximilian, thanks very much for speaking to us. Yes. Human rights, they were described, particularly by the US side, as something that they were going to try and hit the Russian side with. Now, you sit on the Human Rights Council when it comes to the European Parliament. The United States hasn't really liked it when that mirror has been turned around on human rights issues. What, as neither representative of Russia or the United States, what's the EU human rights opinion when it comes to US human rights record?
The EU in that term is following the US blindly, usually, and you know the US believes in his own exceptionalism and it's the shining city upon the hill. So if you show them the mirror, they would watch inside of it and say, fantastic, yes, great to see me. And what American politics is doing is they now say human rights is our mean and our tool to maintain our empire, and European position is they believe it. Yes. That's
really. I was just going to say, we saw that a car had pulled up outside the house. Apparently, there's a rumour potentially that the expanded talks have come to an end. So we might even be hearing something sooner than later. But before then, what I do want to ask you about, because I think this is something that probably will have come up, is NATO. Russia clearly has a view that NATO is expanding closer to its borders, that this obviously goes against all those verbal promises that were made after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Has NATO outlived itself? Is the idea of Russia the aggressor, is it its last remaining lifeline?
I'm not sure whether it's last remaining lifeline, but I mean, look at the age of Joe Biden. He already was in Congress when the Cold War was still there. And people usually don't change their minds so fundamentally. And if you go to the NATO bureaucracy, then people grew up with the idea, ooh, the Russians are the enemy. And now we have to tell them, I'm sorry, it has changed a little bit, the old Soviet Union has collapsed. And personally, I think that there are many NATO officials who are so happy that they now can come back to what they learned when they were younger, that they say, no, we always said that the Russians are the enemy, let's move forward with that. And there is a kind of a groupthink, I guess so. And of course, NATO shifts and it becomes more and more aggressive.
I wanted to ask you about comments made by Vladimir Putin when it came to the United States being in a similar position as the USSR was just before it collapsed, the idea of a multipolar world, and whether the third party that isn't here right now at this meeting is actually President Xi of China. How does this all fit together? What are they looking to achieve here, and where does the US's vision of the world fit with perhaps the rest of the world's vision?
The US vision of the world means we lead the world. When Biden came into office, he said America is ready to lead the world again. And I tweeted, maybe I'm not ready to get led by the Americans and I want to govern myself. But that is not in the concept. So they say we lead it with our concept of human rights, and human rights is what is defined by George Soros, including LGBTQIA++ rights in Uganda, and don't touch it. And the rest of the world says, no, we have our own traditional regional ideas to run. And this is multipolarity. And the Americans now try to export their cultural idea to say this is a global ethos, this is a global ethics, which everyone has to share. And then the Russians say, no, we have our own tradition, our own way to run our country. The Chinese say, come on, we have the largest population, we have our own tradition. We want to do it on our Asian way, do it on your American way. And this is why we call them now a systemic rival. The rivalry is that America say we want to have a global system, a global ethics for everyone. And what the Chinese and the Russians say, and the Muslims more and more too, is let's have different world regions and allow different world regions to run their own region on their own way. This is, in my mind, the big split between American globalism and the rest of the world's multilateralism.
Talk there obviously about how that NATO statement came out and for the first time ever declared that China posed a systematic challenge. What I thought was really interesting was that whilst Biden is basically, and Stoltenberg are coming out and saying we really need to direct all our forces eastwards in a way, very interestingly, Angela Merkel said it's something we need to recognise, but let's not overrate it. And I wonder, obviously, with Merkel's time in power coming to an end, whether that sort of reasonable, more rational, more balancing force within the European community in response to China, in response to Russia, whether that will leave a little bit. And again, sort of the US and Europe kind of band together.
The thing is that Merkel is even worse than Schröder before her. And now what I see comes after Merkel seems to me worse than her. But it's completely true. She always understood that we need, for several reasons, good relationship with both Russia and China. China is, to say it clear, our biggest trade partner for both Germany and the European Union. And we have a trade surplus. Germany has a trade surplus, so China is the only industrial country. If we follow the Americans and ruin our trade with China, then 1/3 of the DAX companies are bankrupt. So you have to be realistic, and this is what Merkel is doing. And now, you know, her term ends, and we will see what follows her. Laschet is like Merkel, but weaker. If the Greens come, we can shut down everything, because then we get American politics from Berlin.
I think if I was going to be a betting man, we're looking at Armin Laschet, really. But thank you very much. That is Maximilian Krah, MEP for the Alternative for Germany party. What we're here for, of course, though, is the summit between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. We got to a situation when it comes to the relationship between these two. Well, it's not good at all. We can have a little look at why that relationship is the way it is right now.